You wake up with that rare kind of fire, the kind that makes you feel like today is the day everything changes. You can almost see it: the workout's done, the clean meals, the focused hours, the project finally finished. So you look yourself in the eye, maybe in the mirror, maybe in your mind, and you make a promise. Today, I'm going to do it. And for a moment, that promise feels powerful. Like you just took the wheel back. But then life starts talking. The alarm goes off and your hand reaches for snooze. Once. Twice. Again. You tell yourself you'll make it up later. You open your day and it's already heavy: messages, noise, responsibilities. A snack calls your name. A screen offers comfort. One quick scroll turns into 20 minutes. 20 minutes turns into an hour. And the thing you promised yourself? It gets pushed to the edge of the day, where things go to disappear. By night, you remember that promise like it belongs to someone else. And you tell yourself the same sentence that's ended 1,000 days. Tomorrow. We all do this. We make promises to ourselves, and break them quietly. No one confronts us. No one calls us out. No one sees it happen. But that doesn't mean it doesn't matter. Because the word you give yourself, the promises you make in private, shape the person you become in public. So why do we break them? It's not because you're worthless. It's not because you're incapable. And it's not because you don't want a better life. Most of the time, it's fear wearing a mask. Fear of discomfort. Fear of change. Fear of failing after you finally try for real. Because as long as you say, "I'll start tomorrow," you can keep the fantasy alive. You can keep believing you're the kind of person who would do it, someday. And you don't have to face the hard part. The part where you actually begin. And then there's the trap that catches almost everyone. Instant gratification. Your brain loves what's easy now. It loves what's soothing. It loves what gives you a reward without effort. Scrolling is easier than reading. Snacking is easier than cooking. Binge watching is easier than building. Staying the same is easier than becoming someone new. And sometimes it's not fear or comfort. Sometimes it's simply that your promise had no shape. I'm going to get fit. Okay, how? When? What does that mean today? A vague word is a word you can't hold yourself to. And the mind will always choose the path that requires the least resistance. But the biggest reason we break promises to ourselves is this: there's no immediate consequence. If you break a promise to someone else, there's a reaction. A conversation. Disappointment. Tension. It costs you something in the moment. But if you break a promise to yourself, it's silent. You can pretend it didn't happen. You can move on. And your brain learns something dangerous. My word doesn't matter. That's where the real cost begins. Not in one day. Not in one decision. But in what it becomes over time. Every broken promise is a crack in self-trust. At first it's small. You skip one workout. You delay one task. You give in one time. And you tell yourself, it's fine. But the cracks spread. Because now, when you promise yourself something, a part of you doesn't fully believe it. You start hearing your own commitment like a commercial. Something that sounds good, but probably isn't true. And when you can't trust yourself with small promises, big promises feel impossible. You hesitate. You overthink. You wait until you feel ready. But readiness doesn't come from thinking. It comes from keeping your word. Self-trust is a foundation. And if the foundation is weak, everything you build shakes. Your confidence starts to drain. Because confidence isn't loud talk. Confidence is proof. It's the quiet certainty that says, when I say I'll do something, I do it. Without that proof, your mind becomes a negotiation room. You argue with yourself. You bargain. You make exceptions. And suddenly, your life becomes a pattern of almosts. Almost started. Almost finished. Almost changed. Almost became. And that's the hidden toll. Not just the things you don't get done, but the identity you slowly accept. You stop seeing yourself as someone who follows through. And you start seeing yourself as someone who tries. Someone who intends. Someone who plans. Someone who talks about it. But here's the truth. Trying isn't the goal. Becoming is. And the bridge between who you are and who you want to be is simple. It's the word you give yourself. Because every time you keep a promise, something changes inside you. Not all at once. Not like a movie. But like compound interest. Small wins stack. Small discipline grows. Small integrity becomes a standard. And the standard becomes your identity. So how do you rebuild the word you give yourself? You don't rebuild it with motivation. Motivation is a spark, beautiful, temporary, unreliable. You rebuild it with integrity. With proof. And proof starts small. Smaller than your ego wants. Because most people don't fail because they aim too low. They fail because they aim too high, too fast, too soon. And break their word again. So start with a promise you can keep even on a hard day. Not I'm going to work out for 2 hours. But I'm going to move my body for 10 minutes. Not I'm going to change my whole life. But I'm going to do one thing I said I would do. Make it clear. Make it specific. Make it undeniable. At this time, I will do this action, for this long. And then, this part matters. When it's time to do it, don't negotiate. Your mind will try. It will bring arguments. It will bring excuses that sound reasonable. You're tired. You had a long day. You can start tomorrow. You deserve a break. But you don't attend that meeting. Because the more you negotiate with your future, the more you teach yourself that your word is flexible, optional, conditional. And the moment your word becomes optional, your life becomes optional too. So you act. Even if it's messy. Even if it's not perfect. Even if it's not impressive. Because keeping your word isn't about performance. It's about identity. You're not proving anything to the world. You're proving something to you. And every time you keep the promise, your self-trust comes back. Not as a feeling. As a fact. You start walking differently. Because you're no longer someone who just says things. You're someone who follows through. And that changes everything. Because a person who trusts themselves commits faster. They take opportunities seriously. They don't wait for the perfect moment. They create momentum. They become reliable. To themselves first, and then to everyone else. So here's what I want you to understand. The word you give yourself is not a small thing. It's your personal law. It's the contract you sign every time you say I will. And breaking that contract has a cost. Even if it's quiet, even if no one sees it. But keeping it? Keeping it is power. Power is waking up and knowing you can count on yourself. Power is setting a goal and believing your own voice. Power is being the type of person who shows up. Especially when it's inconvenient. So today, don't promise yourself a whole new life. Promise yourself one thing. One action. One step. One decision you can complete in under 15 minutes. And then keep it. Because when you keep your word today, you don't just finish a task. You rebuild trust with the most important person you will ever live with. You. So ask yourself right now. What promise will you keep today? Not tomorrow. Not next week. Today. Your future self is listening. and they'll become whoever you prove you are. One promise at a time.